Here we are back again with another episode of Your Palm Beach Guide. I'm Doug Evans. I'm the president and CEO of the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce. And I love where I live. I love where I work. I love my community. And I love so many things about it. And I say that every time you tune into a podcast because it's absolutely true. What's not to love about living here? Once in a while the rain falls, but we call that liquid sunshine, so it's all great. Something we've not talked about in the last half dozen episodes is education in our community. And we have a chamber member here with me today, Dr. Denise Spirou from the Greene School. And what I love about this is, as so many people have moved to South Florida, to Florida in general, but particularly the Southeast Coast, these schools are being created and coming about, and they're just, to me, it's magical, the kids that are going there and what they're doing. So Dr. Denise Spirou is here with me today. She's the, my day, we call it the headmistress, the headmaster, one of those things.
Yes, well, we call head of school.
Head of school now. So we've made it less female, less male. It's head of school.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm that old-fashioned kind of guy. So Dr. Spirou, Denise, are you native here? I mean, are you from Florida, or where are you from? What's your background?
No, well, first of all, good morning, everyone,
morning.
and you. I actually was born in New York.
Okay.
And moved to the Poconos when I was very, very young.
Beautiful.
My dad was an architect, and they recruited him there to build homes. So I spent most of my childhood in Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania.
Nice.
And moved here when I had my first son, and that was in 1997. So I've been here quite a while.
That's a long time.
Yes.
So you're almost a native kind of a thing. Then.
Almost.
Were you, and so when you moved here, were you up there? Were you a teacher up there? Or what's your background? I mean, you are this head of school now, which is like a really huge position, by the way. And I'm like, I don't know how you do it. But tell me about your career, the teaching thing. What did you do?
Sure,
and
absolutely.
I'm kind of curious. Where'd you go to school and all the good stuff?
Sure. So I knew from the age of 8 years old that I wanted to be a teacher. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But growing up in a Greek family, sometimes that maybe wasn't good enough. So I was slated to either take after my father and be an architect, or I should be a doctor, especially a pediatrician, since I loved children. But I decided in my heart I wanted to teach third grade, live and die in a third grade classroom. Never thought in a million years I would be a head of school. I never aspired to be one, and I'll share how that happened.
I'm curious, yeah.
But I finished my undergraduate work at a small university called East Stroudsburg University in 3 years. So I graduated college at the age of 20, finished my master's degree in 2 years, same university. Then went on to do my doctorate online at Walden University. Now, back in the day, in 2005, online universities weren't as popular as they were now.
No.
And I did that because I had two small children, 8 and 10 years old, and I was working full time, had a side business. So I did my doctorate in about 3.5 years. And my dissertation was on dyslexia because I was really curious about learning more about children that have that special needs. And then I decided after that, why not get a specialist degree? So I did that 9 months at Nova Southeastern University online. So I'm a big proponent of online education, as I mentioned. I mean, I started in 2005, which was frowned upon at that time. So in Pennsylvania, as I mentioned, I was a third grade teacher, had my first son, moved here, waited about a year or two to start teaching. And I wasn't in a public school system up north. I'm a big proponent of both public school and private school education.
Absolutely.
So moved down here. I taught in the area school district for 1 year. And someone introduced me to some private schools. And I said, well, that's new for me. So I was introduced to a private school in Palm Beach Gardens where I taught third grade, where I thought I would, again, live and die in that third grade classroom. But as you know the saying, when you do something well, people continue to ask you to do things.
To do more.
So at the school, I eventually was the assistant head of school. And then the head of school at that time left suddenly. And they're like, well, Denise, would you like to do it? I said, well, okay, sure.
Why not?
So spent 16 years at the school, last 5 as the head of school.
Wow.
And I was planning on taking a year off and just teach the gifted endorsement classes. I teach them for the state of Florida. Teachers who want to learn more about teaching gifted students. And then all of a sudden, I'm seeing about this Greene School, and I'm hearing a lot about it, this new school that's opening up in West Palm Beach. And I was certainly intrigued, but at the time, I planned on taking a year off and just kind of doing some consulting. And at that time, actually, I remember Mrs. Greene called me up because I had met her 11 years ago and said, hey, Denise, would you like to have a conversation? We're opening up a school. I said, sure. So here we are 8 years later, and I've had the great privilege of leading it from day one.
And for the listeners who are not from our area, because this is we are on all the platforms, so tune in everywhere.
Yes.
This is called the Greene School because why? Not the color, clearly. And the genesis of the Greene School is?
Correct. So the Greene School is with an E, actually, and it's named after our co-founders, philanthropist and real estate developer Jeff Greene and his wife, Macy Greene.
Macy.
And they wanted to create a school that really tapped into all of the students' passions. They wanted to, break the glass ceilings, because just because it was done always this way doesn't mean that you have to do it. And when we talk about education, we have to look at it in many different ways. I mean, we grew up in a successful academic learning environment. It did work for us, but how can we make it better?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I love, leading the Greene School, because that's the question we ask every single day to ourselves. We look at our students, they're happy, they're joyful, we've recruited great teachers, it's a warm environment, but then we say, okay, well, what can we do to make it better? So we never stop. I don't want to say strive for perfection, because there's no such thing, but striving to always do better.
That's amazing. The time that I've known you and listened to you, you did a presentation at a chamber breakfast in front of 500 of our closest friends. When I see the beginning of private schools here, there were the ones that were here a long time, Palm Beach Day and the other ones, and then all these new schools popping up, private schools, which is terrific. I think it's wonderful because so many people moved here, and there's the need for it, the demand for it. Not that our public schools here aren't great. I'm a product of public education,
Me
as
too.
are you.
Yes,
and for a part of my grade school was here in Florida, North Florida. And at that time, but you're the educator, I'm not. Actually, I was a music ed major in college. Classically trained opera singer, grade K through 12, taught kindergarten and second grade, and I love second grade. I told you at breakfast a couple days ago. There are public schools that are great. So it's not about that, but it's about more opportunities and the market demand by people moving here who are looking for that alternative. Now, when you talk about private schools here, people think, I can't afford that, I can't do that. And one thing I learned about from you, the first thing you said to me, it's not about the money.
Correct.
Because at the Greene School, which is a private school with progressive, wonderful values in education. So should people just be dissuaded when they think about the Greene School, if they think, oh, I can't afford to go there, basically?
Absolutely not. And that was one of the things that attracted me to the Greene School when I met with Mr. Greene and Mrs. Greene, is they said, we want everyone to come to the school that whether they can afford it or not, as long as they meet the mission of serving bright, curious, and joyful learners, and also, getting into the admissions process and meeting all of the criteria. So we give about $1 million a year away in financial assistance. And then now that we're launching our high school, we're offering 4-year merit scholarships up to 90%.
That's incredible.
Yes.
That's incredible. And when I hear that, I get goosebumps, because I think of the opportunities for children who might not have it otherwise to be able to do that. And I don't, I know some of those schools in the region, and I know they do some things like that, but yours appears to be so forward leading in serving the mission of these bright young people who need a chance.
Exactly.
And I'm fortunate. I had great public school teachers all the way through. I told you when I met you, my second grade teacher made me who I am today. Mm-hmm. Mrs. Rassel, Elizabeth Rassel, to this day. And I tried to go back to see her 10 years ago, and I missed seeing her by 2 weeks. She had passed away. To tell her the profound way she changed my life. Because Denise, what she did in her classroom, and you talked before we got on the air here today, that she did things this is the 60s. So there was no computers, no electronics. She would make things for us to do, to learn, different tools for learning. She would identify, and now that I'm older thinking about it, she identified me and others who, here's the bottom line. In second grade, we learned cursive writing. Right. And you had to write the letter A 100 times, then B, then C. So I did it 5 times, A. I said, Mrs. Rassel, why do I have to do this? Well, because it's good practice. I said, please, the second grade. I said, take a look at this. Is it not good enough? She goes, it's excellent. I said, so why do I have to do this?
So you're one of those students.
Yeah, so why? So I was one of those.
It's awesome.
Why? Awesome. And she said, okay. She goes, what would you like to do? I said, well, I have a special interest, as little kids say, in these other things. So she put me in an area, and she created things for me to do and others.
Wow. That is so progressive for the 60s.
In the 60s, 1967, 68. And to this day, and then what she did in our little grade school was she told the teachers in the next 2 grades or 3 grades about the students.
Wow.
And they knew coming into that. So you are a person I know who does this.
Yes.
You did it in the classroom. So the teachers you're recruiting, here's my point. You will have expectations of their desire, their joy, their expertise, and their willingness to try new things. How do you recruit good teachers? And I'm talking good teachers.
Yeah, it's tough.
How do you find them?
Well, let me go back to, first of all, your teacher. Kudos to her, because that was brilliant back in the 60s. I mean, absolutely amazing. And that's why many of us do become educators, to get meet the students where they are and make sure that they can propel. It's really challenging finding teachers that really, fit our culture and our school, because first of all, we want them to be positive, right? So a lot of times I'll find a teacher, they have a great personality, but they don't understand the subject area. Or they're great at their subject content matter, but they're not kind, they're not compassionate. So it truly is a challenge to find teachers like that care, because some educators go into teaching, well, this is the type of student I want to teach. And it's that A student that picks up everything quickly. Mm-hmm. You can still be brilliant and not pick up everything quickly, or you have to find different avenues. So I give this example when I interview, and I say, when I was in third grade, I would take all of my students outside, I would line them up, and we would walk a square. And at the end of the square, I would give them each a pencil. And I would say to the students, okay, who got to the end first? The student. Who got to the end last? This student. Who got there third? This student. Did you all get pencils? Yes. Did you all start at the beginning? Yes. Did you all finish? Yes. Well, that's how learning is going to be this year.
Okay.
So when I tell that story to people I interview, I see if they cringe or not, or I see if they light up and they smile.
Good idea.
So when I do the interviews, a lot of it is body language and how they react. Also talking about flexibility, is key, because not everything is going to go as planned all the time in the classroom.
Probably every day.
Right. Well, yes,
every day.
That too. But you can tell when you ask teachers those questions, like, tell me about your most creative lesson. If they give just a simple answer and their face is just kind of blank, I know that's probably not the right fit. So I do a lot of Googling.
Okay.
I do a lot of social media stalking.
Good.
Finding out that I go to Facebook pages of elementary school teachers, Facebook pages of science teachers. I used LinkedIn, which is a great source. And I actually use my current teachers.
Sure.
They are the best.
Yes, they know people, correct?
Right. And they're so honest. They'll say, well, this is a teacher friend, but I don't recommend her.
Don't do it.
Right. So they know. And again, you have to absolutely love what you do, and you are there for the student. And I tell the teachers, your first job is to make them feel so special. So all of the teachers wait outside the classroom door. They shouldn't be on their computers, and greet the students. I go, think about when you go into a restaurant and they say, oh, hey, Doug,
Good to see you.
I have your Diet Coke or Coke
Right.
all ready for you. Doesn't that make you feel great?
Sure, you're special.
Right. And we're an adult. So imagine an 8-year-old getting that every single day and thinking, I am the most special child in the world. So I look at the teachers' Facebook pages. Are they talking about their students? On Instagram, are they sharing knowledge with other teachers, where it's all about the students and not about them, because they can't be self-centered. It can't be, oh, look at me, I received this award. I mean, yes, we want to share our accolades and we say, I'm humbled, to receive this award.
But the student comes first.
Correct.
Always.
Correct.
First.
So that's what I look for.
It's amazing. If you are listening to us, it's Doug Evans, President and CEO of the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce. You're listening to your Palm Beach Guide here in the beautiful Palm Beaches. And the Chamber of Commerce, of course, is the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce on the island of Palm Beach. And today is Dr. Denise Spirou from the Greene School. We're talking about private schools in the Palm Beaches. And the Greene School is located in West Palm Beach, which is in our metropolitan area. And as I've said the last few podcasts, it used to be the island in the world. It's one metropolitan area now.
Yes.
And so many people come from so many places. So we're talking about teachers at the Greene School. We're talking about the format of the Greene School, how things are done. And I got to tell you, Denise, I'm not being nice to you. When I met you, I'm like, she's a force to be reckoned with in a great way. She's full of energy, she's full of life, and full of love. And you can see the passion you have. So the Greene School, private school, lots of tuition assistance if you're listening and you're interested. It's the Greene School, Greene School, West Palm Beach. And with the teacher-student ratio, I got that in your video a little bit. How many teachers do you have? What's the ratio? And male teachers versus female teachers. Tell me a little bit about the infrastructure. So people want to find out more. What's that look like at the school?
In pre-K through 5th grade, we have a class size about 16 to 18 students with 2 master degree teachers. So at all times in the elementary level, it's 1 to 8 student-teacher ratio. And that is truly why we're able to differentiate instruction. So we have different levels going in reading, different levels going in math, because we all know that students don't learn the same way at the same time.
Correct.
So that's what the pre-K through fifth grade looks like. Now in sixth grade and above in our upper school, we have our specialty area teachers. Because we offer high school level courses in middle school, like Algebra 1.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Geometry, Algebra 2. Some students take pre-calc as an eighth grade student. So class size really depends because we truly cater it to their needs. So you might see a class of 3 students. You might see a class of 6 students. You might see a class of 15 students. It just depends on what their needs are. We do offer 2 foreign languages. So in pre-K and K, they get a little taste of Spanish, they get a little taste of Mandarin. And then in first grade, they can choose their language of choice, which is actually 4 days a week. And we can consider it a core curriculum area. We have drama, we have art, we have music, physical education. We also offer tennis in our program as well, computer science, engineering. What I'm really excited about is we have an aeronautics program.
That's amazing.
I got my pilot's license 2 years ago because why not, right?
Why am I not surprised? Okay.
But what I love about teaching aeronautics is it just all the skills that you learn can transcend into any career path. And the one thing that I learned about getting my pilot's license was that checklist, right? Because if I don't check my checklist out, I'm not going to be safe.
No, you're not.
So
No.
it's very good to teach the students about, checking things twice, being meticulous, spatial intelligence. So we have some students that are getting their glider rating, some students that want to become a pilot. And that's just in our intermediate and middle school. We also have drama for those students. We do a production every year at the Kravis Center.
Nice.
We do a dance show at the Kravis Center. We do an interactive art show every single year. So our philosophy is let's expose them to everything to see what they're great at. Because a lot of times schools, even in elementary and middle school, pigeonhole these kids. Right. Oh, well, we're this STEM school or, we're this humanities school. We want to expose them to everything. We just had this one student, unfortunately, he went to another school because he moved, and he was inspired by our art teacher. And last year, the parents were like, we cannot believe our son, Leo, we didn't realize all of the art talent that he had. He just sold a painting at a school for $20,000. I mean, it's incredible. And the parents had invited myself and the art teacher, to that presentation. And he's going to be something someday. So that's what you want to hear. And then going up into our high school, we just had this conversation yesterday because everyone's like, well, what's your focus? I go, the focus is what is your child's focus?
Right.
And that's what we want to find out because we're small and we're only going to have 30 to 40 students graduating from our high school classes. And obviously those classes will be personalized. But if someone wants to work, be an astrophysicist, well, we're going to connect with somebody in the community and we're going to put them on that career path. Or if somebody, really likes to, golf, let's say, for this reason, we can have them go in that golf track and we can pair them up with somebody. So that's what's going to be our specialty is making sure that we tap into their passions. So we are going to cater our educational path to them, not vice versa.
Public schools don't have the capacity and the resources to do it. And that's sad because my sister was older than me and she was in public school here in Florida. And at that time they taught foreign languages in grade school and she took French.
Yes.
Those days are gone. Those days are long, long gone. It was a smaller school up in North Florida. So to me, that they can do that, that's amazing. And when you look at the kids that are coming in, and this to me is very important, and I know the answer to this. I know you're going to go with this. You've got wealthier families who come in. You have families who come with children who don't have lots of money, so they're from a different background. There's the potential for, although I'm sure it doesn't happen with you, there's the potential for being uncomfortable, negativity towards that child, didn't have the money, or bullying, whatever, those things. How do you, Dr. Spirou, and I look at your face is lighting up. How do you handle that for like a disadvantaged family who comes with a child who doesn't have the Mercedes-Benz, the whatever, and it's, what do you do? How do you handle that?
That's a great question. It all boils down to the culture of the school. And when parents come to our school, they understand that as soon as you walk in those doors, it's all about the students. So I don't care if there is a Tesla or a beat up minivan. When you walk in those doors, it's all about the kids. And when I give the tour, I think parents can feel that. So how do I say this?
No. Say it any way you want.
Parents understand that you don't walk in those doors and I'm not going to give you a check and I'm going to tell you what to do. We do our fundraising a little bit different than traditional schools. We do have to fundraise because it is an accreditation requirement.
Okay.
Once a year, I send out an email. It's about Giving Tuesday. Totally 100% confidential. Nobody knows who donates. I tell the parents, you're not going to get a gold star. You're not going to get a walkway. You're not going to get, a big magazine with your name in it. So I think that's where it starts from, is the culture that, if you donate. That's great. If not, that's fine too. We also have a welcoming parent community. So we want parents to come into the school. So complimentary, we offer a parents' tennis clinic every week. Okay. We offer a parents' hip hop class every week. And we offer a parents' yoga class every week. So I really think those situations help, everyone mesh together, because you're not talking about what you do for a living. You're not talking about what kind of car you're driving. You're saying, wow, this is the education our kids get. Mm-hmm. These kids have this yoga teacher that teaches them how to balance, their mental health and their mindfulness. Wow, they have this cool hip hop teacher and my kids are learning how to dance. We're getting taught by a professional tennis pro. So that's where those conversations start. And it's not about the money. It's about the kids, it's about the teachers, and it's about the culture of the school. It all starts with the culture. It sounds
in a way, and I mean this, it sounds magical, quite honestly. And it's a safe space for children of different levels, different backgrounds, different wherever they're going, kind of a thing. And to me, like you and I were fortunate. I'm older, but at that time in the public schools, we had those great teachers who did then what you're doing now. Mm-hmm. And somewhere in between that whole spectrum, that whole long linear timeline, things changed.
Right.
And, teachers, I know in the state of Florida at the time of this podcast we're doing today, the state legislature is trying to raise their basic minimum to $65,000 a year.
Yes.
Because I think Florida was like number 49 or some low number. Mm-hmm. And that's why they can't afford to live here.
Correct.
And, I don't need to know, but I know you're competitive and you take care of your teachers, because that's such an investment in your employees. When it comes down to it, they're employees on the technical side, the legal technical side.
Right.
But then they become family.
Correct.
And I, fortunately, in my life, my business has been in the arts, running big performing arts centers, and I've built teams who became families. Mm-hmm. And we celebrated when there was a child born. We celebrated when they went to high school or college. We also grieved together when something happened.
Yes.
And the toughest thing is to have an employee that you need to have move on. And that was always kind of like, in a way, what's the right word? It was almost like the system knew, the person knew that it wasn't right, and they needed to move on. And Dr. Spirou, my philosophy in life is I've always helped people move on for a variety of reasons. Like, this is not the right fit for you. Let me stay here and work, but let me help you find a new job somewhere else. And they're like, why would you do that? I'm like, because I care.
Correct.
And to this day, and I say this humbly, not boastfully, most people who I've had a chance to work with on a team will say, he really did me a favor by either keeping me and promoting me or moving me on. It seems to me like you would do the same thing. If you indeed made a mistake with a hire, with a teacher, we all make them. We have to admit once in a while, there's that one that you would help them move forward, kind of a thing, or a student who's just not a right fit at the Greene School. This has to me been eye-opening in so many ways with you, Dr. Spirou. I am so fortunate that you are here in the community. I'm not being nice. I love young people with energy and commitment and soul who are so committed to the community, and the Greene School is. And Jeff and Macy Greene, who clearly have done well financially in their endeavors. I had never met Mr. Greene until a couple of days ago. I was impressed. I'm like, wow, Jeff Greene. I mean, look him up, folks. Jeffrey Greene, Greene, in Palm Beach has done amazing things. And to have the vision. I want to ask before we finish here, why did he decide to start a school? I didn't ask that. Why did he say, I have to have a school?
Yeah, and he was always such a forward thinker, even when he purchased the piece of property for our school. And now, the area, Flamingo Park, is exploding.
And in a good way, which it needed to. It needed to.
Oh, it's beautiful, beautiful now. And the reason why he wanted to start a school is to, actually for his 3 boys, obviously it started from there. He has 3 wonderful and amazing sons who I've had the pleasure of seeing growing up in the past 8 years, his youngest one being 2.5.
Oh my.
So I feel blessed to be a part of that journey. But he just wanted to start a school that there were no glass ceilings. Like, let's make sure we create a school that, we're not bound to tradition. We're not bound to this is what we've done for the past 100 years. Let's take what's worked. And that's why he brought me in. And then also let's explore other options on how do we always make it better? How do we always give the students the most optimum learning environment in a loving and caring way? And I smile when I talk about this because, people will see Mr. Greene and they see the business side of him. He has a beautiful heart and he loves that we are a community in the school. And when we do our winter shows, he's like, Denise, I don't want them to leave. Let them stay. Let them play outside. So we have food for the kids. We bring in ice cream. We bring in cotton candy and popcorn machines. And for me as a head of school, to see him smile at this makes me so proud to lead the school. And not everyone has this opportunity. Like, I feel as a head of school, I hit the education lottery. Like, I hit the jackpot. There is no other school like this. I'm not just saying that.
No, it's true.
I truly have the autonomy and the support from Mr. and Mrs. Greene to lead this school in the right direction. So for me, every day I count it as a blessing. But to be able to lead the school and have the teachers be able to teach, the right way, which is meeting the kids where they're at and making sure that they can propel is a gift every day.
So you've created this culture from the very beginning, and it was Mr. and Mrs. Greene's vision to do this. It's the Greene School, Greene School, West Palm Beach. What's the website, by the way?
www.thegreenschool.com.
That's easy, thegreenschool.com.
Yep,
okay,
.com. We are a not-for-profit, but it's
that's
a
okay.
.com.
And it's a private school, but there's lots of opportunity for scholarships and financial help. So if you're listening, if you are listening, clearly, if I say that, listening today, it's the Greene School, and it's a progressive education in the most wonderful sense. Dr. Spirou has created an environment where you want to go to school every day, where your teachers want to go to work every day, and it's a joyful moment. And I'm so inspired in a way to call this area home, but also know there's a resource like this. So Dr. Spirou, thank you for joining us today. If you're listening to this, it's thegreenschool.com, or just Google The Greene School, West Palm Beach. There's a phone number there. I'm sure they'll take a phone call if you decide to call them. But don't let finances stop you.
Yes.
Don't let them stop you from calling. You can't say that about all private schools, but don't let that stop you from calling. And you will find the nicest, most receptive head of school. I almost said headmistress or headmaster. Head of school, old-fashioned here from Connecticut, that you'll ever find. So this has been Doug Evans, President and CEO of the Palm Beach Chamber of Commerce. This is your Palm Beach Guide. Today's guest has been Dr. Spirou, Denise Spirou, who is a dynamo and a force to be reckoned with from the Greene School. Thank you for listening today, and we'll be back next week with another episode of Your Palm Beach Guide. Make it a great day.